Hey everybody! Every now and again I get asked to shoot a type of video that I think of as an instructional type video. And I always try to make it clear on my channel that I'm not really a how-to channel. I'm simply showing you how I do things, and you can learn what you learn or take what you take from it. But I'm not here to tell you how to do this or how to do that. And there's a reason why I try to be really specific and make it clear that this is not an instructional type channel. And the simple reason is that it just gets too complicated to try to explain all the ins and outs, and I frankly just don't feel that I'm qualified to do that anyway. Take, for example, if I were explaining to somebody how to set up an aquarium and we were talking about stocking density. The inch of fish per gallon of water rule is a good example of something that just takes a few moments thought, and you can really begin to see how quickly that rule just sort of falls apart. But there's 1,000 variables that go into that. So if I were to explain to somebody how to set up their first aquarium, you got to give them some kind of information to go on and somewhere to start. So in a generic sort of way, that's the rule I would go with. So even I would suggest that. If I were talking about doing water changes, I would tell people to do a 10% weekly and a 25% monthly. I would tell people to keep their nitrates below 40 parts per million, and so on and so forth. I would say all of the things that everybody else says and that the books say that you're supposed to do in fish keeping. In the real world, however, I don't do any of those things. I just keep fish the way I keep fish. And it doesn't necessarily go by the way the books say to do it. But that's okay, because most of us don't. The books are there to give us that sort of baseline, how to get started, and then once you've got your basic understanding, you can grow from there, and you can begin learning more and more as you go along, and you quickly begin to realize how that inch of fish per gallon of water, you know, is a very, very rough guideline, and the 40 parts per million nitrates is also a guideline. It's not critical the way ammonia in your tank or something else would be. The other aspect of it is a lot of the things I say will directly contradict what everyone says and what the general sort of knowledge in the hobby is, and the most common example of that is the nitrates. You know, it's pretty much, to some people out there, it's almost fish law that nitrates above 40 parts per million are killing your fish, and so on and so forth. And I always say otherwise to that. I really promise one of these days I will go into a more lengthy video, and that's kind of why I'm talking about this now. I want to sort of discuss these types of videos where I go into talking about things that really kind of contradict what the common knowledge is. I don't want to, and I'm sitting here saying that I'm not a how-to channel and I'm not telling you how to do things, but then on the other hand, I sit down and I shoot a video where I say, oh, well, you don't have to worry about this, or you don't have to listen to what the people say about that. And I'm really just reluctant to do that because I don't really feel like I'm qualified to do that. And some of the videos I would like to shoot, well, let me ask you this question. If I were to ask you, who would you believe when it comes to telling you how to use a particular product properly? Would you believe A, the manufacturer of that product, or would you believe B, some guy on YouTube? Now, if you answered B, you need to go back to the beginning and start over because you got it wrong. You know, just in a generalized sort of sense, you should believe what the manufacturer says about their product over what some guy says on YouTube. As far as you know, my qualifications for telling you about silicone caulk, for example, is that I've got a camera and I know how to upload videos to YouTube. That's all you know about my qualifications to discuss the chemistry behind silicone. Honestly, that really is my only qualifications to discuss the chemistry behind silicone. I don't have any kind of chemistry degree, but I'm going to be sitting down and shooting a video, and I've shot them in the past, where I discuss GE silicone number 2 in particular, and I directly contradict what the manufacturer says on the label. And so if you were to have to just take that at face value, I would say dismiss me, go with what the manufacturer says. But I've got a lot to say about it, and it would be an interesting conversation that's worth listening to. So I want to put it out there, but at the same time I'm reluctant to just be this guy on the internet that's telling people to do things that go against what the manufacturer says. I never put any kind of information out there that I think might be actually harmful. That's why I'm reluctant to do some of these videos, and I really do my research and I really look into them, and I do my own practical experimentation with the stuff before I ever talk about it for anybody else. And again, with the GE silicone in particular, that's probably my most extreme example, and I'm 100% confident in my opinion about that, and I've used it for years. And my waterfall tank that you can hear trickling behind you is made out of tubes and tubes and tubes of the stuff, and it's not hurting the fish at all, and it's fine to use, and it's waterproof, and so on and so forth. So I do, I will shoot more videos where I sit down in front of the camera and I talk about my opinion about things, or why I do things a certain way, or why I don't do things a certain way, why I disregard some information. I got loads of stuff I could talk about. If I can just sort of get over my fear of, being that guy that's just putting information out there when I'm really not qualified to be doing this. This really is just my opinion. And as long as people understand that, and they don't think that, I'm putting out some kind of gospel of this is now the new rules of fish keeping, or because I've said so, this is so, then that's fine. I'll put my opinion out there, and I'll talk about the way I keep fish and why I keep fish, and the mistakes I make and everything else. That's kind of my niche within the fish keeping, at least in the YouTube world. I'm just an everyday fish keeper. I don't try to impress anybody. I'm not asking for anybody's permission about how I keep fish, or I keep fish the way I keep fish, and I'm just trying to share my experience and my hobby with people. And as long as you're okay with the idea that I'll give my opinion, that's not, an educated opinion necessarily, then I'll shoot more videos like this. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'd be interested to get your opinion. These do seem to be my most popular videos, and I would shoot more of them, but again, as I said, I'm a little reluctant to do so. So anyway, I feel like I've said all I had to say. I'm going to start rambling if I keep talking about it. So make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss anything I got coming up. Don't forget, this one here is my 125-gallon native tank. So thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon in the next one.